Good afternoon. This is David O. Thank you for joining me once again for another In the Know with David O. Hey, why is it always raining or dreary on Tuesday? Do I say that almost every Tuesday? It just seems that way ever since I started this show, that almost like 80% of the days are rainy or overcast. Well, I hope that means that you are standing by the radio, because we have a great show for you today. You know, I really pride myself in the fact that our guests are so fantastic, and no exception today. We are going to hear from Charlie Mack Alston. Have you heard the name before? You might not have, but let me tell you, you have heard the name Will Smith, Boys to Men, Meek Mill, Yaz, and so many others that Charlie Mack Alston has been involved with in one form or another, and he has done so many different things that he has got the full gamut, and now he runs a multi-faceted entertainment company. He's a CEO of that company, and so whether it's music, film, or any other thing, Charlie Mack Alston has had a long career in entertainment. But first, we're going to talk to Leslie Grace. She's a Philadelphia public school teacher, and she is the 2016 Elementary Art Educator of the Year. She has received other awards and recognition, and so you know, education is so important to us all. And so whenever we have someone who has excelled in education, we love to hear from them, find out, you know, kind of what makes them different, what has helped them to become an effective teacher in today's environment, and certainly here in Philadelphia with some very significant limitations. But first, let me thank our show sponsor, Weinerman Pain and Wellness. They do a wonderful job working with people who need to rehabilitate their bodies, and with that their minds, so they can live a full and healthy life. And of course, PhillyLabor.com and all our advertisers. If you want to speak with me or have an idea for the show or a question, we do typically have it in, kind of what the people want to know section. You can reach me on social media, Facebook, David O. David O. Philly is my Twitter, Instagram, David O. Philly. Or you can send a email to davidoradio@gmail.com. And, of course, www.wwdbam.com is the website for the radio station. Well, let me tell you a little bit about my first guest, and that is Leslie Grace. Leslie Grace is a art education teacher here in Philadelphia. She currently teaches at Nebinger, and the thing that distinguishes her right off the bat is that she was Nebinger's first art teacher in 15 years. And so when she arrived, they did not have the resources for art material. Can you imagine teaching 30 kids or 35 kids and having no materials to teach with? Well, what did she do? She went out and raised the money. She donated the money, at $9,000 in supplies in her first year, and over the course of her time there, she has raised $22,000 for her classroom. She does that on social media through friends and family, but she was also a recipient in 2007 of the Japan Memorial Fulbright Scholarship. She is also among the national who's who among teachers in 2005-2007, and BillyPenn.com listed her as one of the top 16 folks in education here in Philadelphia in 2015. And so with that, let me introduce you to Leslie Grace. Hello, Leslie. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thanks for being on the show. Listen, I had the pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, of presenting her with a resolution in her classroom. I went to her classroom, and I presented her a resolution for being the outstanding art elementary teacher here in Pennsylvania. That was awarded by the Pennsylvania Art Education Association. And so that's where I met Leslie Grace. And one of the first things I noticed when I walked in her classroom is all the chairs had these little a tennis ball thing on the bottom of the feet of the chairs, right? And what did you tell me about that? I said, wow, look at that.
It just lessens the noise in the room. Kids are constantly moving around, so it's one of those things that I can do to just center myself and not go crazy from the sound of stools knocking on the ground.
Yeah, well, I thought that was pretty creative. And you have done a lot of different things with your students. Why don't you tell tell us some of the things you've done?
Well, just starting the art program at Nebinger, the kids have had a whole new exposure to creativity and to expressing themselves. So that's been really exciting. We've partnered with the Philadelphia Museum of Art doing their Delphi art program. So the kids got to work with the teaching artist in the classroom, learn batik technique, and we made a permanent installation piece for the school. We're going to be involved with the Barnes Foundation this year for an orchestra ensemble. We're going to be partnering up with the Penn Museum. I try to find many ways to get our students out into the community.
Right.
And then in addition to that, we do an annual themed art show where I try to hang up one of every student's artwork so everyone's represented.
So let's start with this. Now, are you originally from South Carolina?
I am, yes.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. And so what caused you to want to be involved in art, number one, and number two, as a teacher?
They were simultaneously for me. I always was like practicing teaching at summer camp when the teachers would throw away their old books and stuff. We had summer camp in our like cafeteria or something at my elementary school. So I'd practice doing that, and then the minute I realized I love art, and that went together right away. That was in elementary school that I knew I'd be teaching art.
Wow. So you knew at a very early age that you wanted to teach art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was just that, like, art was my form of finding my voice. I was always a kind of shy kid, introverted, so art was my way of speaking. And I knew that I would have no trouble teaching art. I can have a lot of issues sometimes when I'm teaching or talking even to my colleagues and peers, people my age, but when I'm in my classroom, it's my zone, and I'm totally in it.
Well, fantastic. And so what was your road to ultimately landing in Philadelphia and teaching elementary school kids?
You know, it's funny, when I was in college, I never thought it would be elementary. You have these ideas when you're going through school and you start your student teaching and you're like, middle school's going to be too crazy. I don't want to do that. Elementary, you have too many grades. I don't want to do that either. And you're like, high school, the kids are sophisticated. They know what's going on. And I taught high school for 2 years in Atlanta, and that was fantastic. And then I decided to move up to Philadelphia. And there were issues with the certification being reciprocal, so that's how I found myself in Delaware for a year. But that drive was bonkers, and I hate driving, so I had to find a different route there. And I actually was employed at Friend Central down the road for about 6 years. While there, I was getting my master's degree at St. Joseph's, and then I decided to find employment within a school district. You can't really live off of the private school teacher salary forever. Right. Not as good. So then I fell into the Philadelphia School District, and it's not. At first, I wasn't targeting the Philadelphia School District. Right. I was like, give me a job, anyone. And then it happened, and it was my first year was really rough. I got through it, and I felt like a brand new teacher once I started. And then, I don't know, everything just started clicking into place for me. I started to grow more as a professional. I started to make more connections with other art teachers, and I just started to really find my way in Philadelphia and find myself as an art educator. What
was rough about your first year in Philadelphia?
I wasn't prepared to teach a lot of the behavior problems. I wasn't prepared to teach with limited resources. And I also just wasn't prepared to teach K to 8 all in 1 week, every single student in the school all in 1 week. That was, you have a limited experience with each grade level in your student teaching, depending on how the college prepares you. I had about 7 weeks in the elementary level, and it was just K to 5.
Right.
And you still had your cooperating teacher to support you. And once you're thrown into a situation that can be rough and demanding like it is in the school district of Philadelphia, you're left grasping for straws, and who can help me? How can I reach out to people? And that's sort of how I started developing these programs for teachers to come together.
Right. Now, you were the first art teacher at Nebinger in like 15 years.
Yeah.
Were you the only art teacher?
No, there was another one, and nobody can actually give me an a correct number, so
Right,
it's
right.
anywhere from 10 to 15 years. But there was another teacher, and she's actually reached out and donated some supplies and lesson plans and stuff here and there.
Was she a teacher while you were a teacher?
I was. This will be my 14th year teaching
At Nebinger, I mean. Yeah.
Oh, she's been retired.
Yeah, so when you went to Nebinger, you were the first and only art teacher in quite a while.
Yeah.
And so were you planning, did you think you were going to end up teaching all those different grade levels, the only art teacher in the school?
I expected it at that point because I had switched schools from where I was my first year in the district.
Right.
So this, I was walking into this school knowing exactly what I was getting.
And did you realize when you walked into school that they didn't have any art supplies?
I knew that too.
Okay.
I knew
so
that too.
You had a lot on your plate walking into Nebinger.
Mm-hmm. I got a little bit of practice at my previous school and with like fundraising and just like learning how to cope.
So what were your immediate thoughts when you started? Because there you are, you're a new teacher, you got K to 8, and then you don't have art material to teach with. What were your thoughts? Like, how are you going to handle this?
I just knew I immediately had to fundraise for it. I found ways to get supplies, whether it was donations from the Philadelphia Museum of Art, their program. Sometimes they have leftover supplies and they open it up to teachers. Through partnerships with Fresh Artists, they give supplies to teachers and they do surprise supplies, which is hard for me to say with all the S's, giveaways.
Yes.
So I just, I had to be resourceful. I had to find paper that we had in the school. How could I work with that? But I immediately started the fundraising, and it's amazing how quick a community will come together to help make those fundraising possibilities come true. So it didn't take long for my first projects to get funded.
Some people say, well, you don't need all that material. You just teach the kids, 30 kids. What do you have to say to that?
I think it's narrow-minded because they don't understand, if they're saying that art is consumable. You're constantly going through paper, crayons, markers. They dry out, paints run out, paper gets consumed, and it's not just 30 kids. You're teaching the entire school. You're teaching 400 and upwards kids, depending on the size of the school, every day. And there's just no way like having one measly pencil and one sheet of copy paper is significant enough to our students. They need more.
Why is art education important?
I think it's especially important in this day and age because businesses, whether you're going into the arts or you're just going in business or even into being a doctor, whatever it is, they're looking for creative people. They're looking for problem solvers and people to find ways of getting to a solution. And there's an understanding that there's not always just one way. And so art is something that helps create divergent learners and helps them to become creative problem solvers. So it's something that students need. And not only that, but they need to be able to express themselves. And in some cases, art is the one place that a student is successful in a school. They need that. They need to be able to have their voice heard just like I did.
Right. Listen, as a parent, I mean, my kids go to school and, they got math, English, science, whatever it is. And then, the time where they could be creative and they could explore and actually have fun too, that's art. We hire someone to teach them piano, and we try to give them a level of education that is diversified because we think that's important to developing them as human beings. And so when I hear people say, well, you don't need that really in school, I'm like, well, I'm fortunate enough to be able to provide that to my kids in their school and outside of their school. But some of these kids, they just don't have that opportunity because their parents may not be working. Sometimes there's very unfortunate circumstances. But school is a place that every child can have equal access to a full range of development to make them healthy, happy children and ultimately productive adults. And do you feel that that's true, or how do you look at that whole wholesome education perspective?
Yeah, I think, our experiences in school definitely shape us as human beings, and if all we are limited to is strict academics, we're forgetting a whole part of the human. We're forgetting the whole right brain and the whole creative process of a human, and that creates a sort of disequilibrium in our world. There are kids who are getting that, and inequitable if our city children or other children aren't getting that same experience. So I think it's really important that everybody has a balanced education, which includes the arts.
Now, one of the things that you've done is you have organized the Philadelphia Art Teachers Alliance. And why did you do that?
It was very selfish, actually.
Okay.
I needed
Tell
it.
us. Yes.
Like my first year in the school district when I was teaching in North Philly, I needed to talk to other teachers. I needed to share my story. I can go home and tell my significant other my story as much as I want, but like they're never going to fully understand, and I don't want to have to burden that person with everything that's killing me and all the drama of it. Because the only people who can usually understand are other teachers, and they're the ones who can give you the stories and the solutions to those problems that are going to be the most manageable and the most realistic. So I started attending this little sort of small meeting at Moore College of Art and Design, hosted by Lynn Horishak. She was in charge of the program there for art education. And then she wanted to change it a little bit and have more people come, but then she started to retire, so she gave this group of a few of us to me to take care of after she retired. And then I turned it into something. I built a web page, I gave it a name, and I started inviting teachers from all angles of the school district and the city to start attending these meetings.
Okay. And there's a role of advocacy that you have taken on. Does that include within your organization the fact that a lot of art teachers really just don't have the supplies that the school district is supposed to provide, and maybe in schools it ends up on the bottom of the priority list, but it seems like art teachers are always reaching into their pocket, or at least their family's pocket or something, to end up providing the materials that are supposed to be and should be supplied by the schools.
Yeah, it does fall to the bottom of the agenda, I guess, for some principals. And that's a shame, because there are a lot of teachers who are having to hustle for their art room. I'm still doing it. I'm still trying to fundraise for things for my classroom for next year. And that, it seems almost commonplace in our city's schools, not just in Philly, but I'd say in other big cities too, where they have large urban populations. We're left hustling, and so we need to advocate for our programs constantly, and we need to find ways of explaining why the arts are important to growing our children and to growing the human potential.
Yeah, and so speaking of that, for our listeners who say, gee, I really want to help this teacher in her mission. She's given a lot. She's very passionate and committed. How can they help out?
I wouldn't want to be selfish. I'd want to tell them to go on Donors Choose and just look up any Philadelphia art teacher classroom. If you find mine, great. You can find it under Miss Grace. Search it somehow, Nebinger Elementary. You can find it.
Okay.
But there's plenty of other teachers out there who are my colleagues, and I want them to feel the love just as much. And I would say go to them first.
So there are other teachers who, the same as you, are passionate and committed, and
I'm just a squeaky wheel. I get noticed because I'm squeaky, and sometimes I'm shaken. I get nervous about being squeaky, but
well, listen. If you want to help out Leslie Grace or any of the other teachers who are trying to make a difference with our kids in Philadelphia, then you can go to Donors Choose, GoFundMe, and Dick Blick Wishlist programs, right? Now, how do you find Dick Blick Wishlist programs?
That was before I even knew what Donors Choose was. Mm-hmm. That was the first format for fundraising I did, and I just knew you could make a wish list and share the wish list.
All right.
That was the first way I did it.
Okay, so Donors Choose, GoFundMe, and look up Leslie Grace, Nebinger,
either way,
and they can find you there.
And for other art teachers, just type in Philadelphia and art, and something will pop up.
Okay, well, at this time, we're going to ask everyone to hold on because we have to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we will be finishing our conversation with Leslie Grace. We are back. We have been speaking with Leslie Grace. She's a teacher, a public school teacher here in Philadelphia. She is the 2016 Outstanding Elementary Art Educator of the Year. That was awarded to her by the Pennsylvania Art Educators Association, and she has received many other recognitions for her effectiveness as a teacher. And what I would say is also her ability to overcome challenges that many teachers face here in our public schools, and she has done that in part by raising money. I know personally she gives out of her pocket about $3,000 a year. And so for those who say, like, well, these teachers, they're not working hard. No, they are working hard. Now, listen, I won't say everybody, but certainly she is. On top of the money she gives out of her own pocket every year, $3,000 from her wages, she has raised $22,000 from friends, family, social media, and she does that because she's passionate about education, educating our children, and helping those kids that she's involved with. And no, she doesn't have 35 kids in her classroom. She has 400 some kids in her school that she teaches and gets all this material. And so really my hat's off to you, Leslie. You have done a fantastic job as a teacher, and you're a tremendous advocate for the profession and for equity in education for our kids. Now, we were just talking during the break, and you were telling me that overall, despite everything I just said, you had a great experience. You are having a great experience as a person, as a professional. So why don't you tell our listeners about how your experience has been in Philadelphia?
Once I started teaching in the school district, I started to realize my full potential and growth as a teacher and as a leader in the art education world. And I'm still a baby leader. I'm getting there, but I don't plan on slowing down. And I don't think I would have realized this about myself if I weren't in the school district of Philadelphia. So it has its problems, it has its concerns, but ultimately I think it's a very enriching and encouraging place to become a teacher and to find yourself in education. Your heart grows when you do things for the kids and the kids respond to you, and it's a very powerful place and environment to teach in. So I by any means wouldn't want to scare any new teachers away from the school district of Philadelphia or in any urban setting, because it's the most rewarding setting that you could possibly find yourself teaching in.
Wow. Well, certainly for those that are committed, that really truly want to make a difference, you can have the opportunity to really impact these wonderful kids in such an important way by being a teacher. And so, Leslie Grace, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It was a blast.
All right, fantastic. Well, I'm going to say this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I have these conversations sometimes, and this is relevant to my next guest as he comes up. I mean, when we have talks about education and about kids and all this, we sometimes get into like really hardcore discussions. I sometimes will say, listen, I got 4 kids, and if you have 4 kids or how many kids, let me tell you something. If you give 2 of those kids, any two of those kids, a beautiful birthday present every year, fantastic Christmas present every year, and the other 2 you give nothing to, the fact that they eat at the same table, they go to the same social circles, they sleep under the same roof, by the time they're 21, you will have some disabled people, some broken people, from that mere thing that as a father and a mother you do to those 2 kids that you don't do for the other 2 kids, right?
Right.
And so in our schools, we have to ensure that we provide a level of concern and opportunity, because that's how we show that we love our kids.
Yeah.
And so, well, my next guest does the same kind of thing. He is Mr. Philadelphia. He does it in a different way, but let me tell you that underneath all the glamour, sweat, and hard work, what he's doing is basically taking people who have a skill and ability, who might not get the chance to develop that, learn who they are, especially if they're coming from impoverished or difficult communities, and he finds their talent, he makes the connection, he guides them through not only their professional career but their personal lives, and that gentleman is Charlie Mack Alston, and he is in the studio. Charlie, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I am humbled, honored to be in your presence. I'll just tell you, this is great for me to come out and speak with you, with your listeners. Councilman David O.
Well, thank you very much. What I'm going to tell the listeners is, listen, like I said, if you don't know who Charlie Mack is, that's not surprising because he's oftentimes a behind-the-scenes guy. But let me tell you that he is a CEO of 215 Affiliated Incorporated, which is a multi-faceted entertainment company. The names you have heard of that he has worked intimately with and is involved with are people like Will Smith, Yaz, Boys to Men, Meek Mill, Maze, Tyrese, and so many others. You know, whether it's in music, in film, live shows, he has done it from providing security to being a producer to discovering talent. He's been on the. You know, somebody told me today that in that opening scene of the Fresh Prince, that in the basketball scene, that's you. That's you spinning around.
I ran Will all the time. Yeah. the little tidbit that you'll get to as well. You know, say born and raised in West Philly, but that actually was in North Philly. That was a 16 for Susquehanna. We shot that.
Okay.
So yeah, you know, a little something I gave you
all
inside.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So let me start with this. I mean, what gift do you have? And I'm not saying that, you know, in a prideful way for you, but what I'm saying is, you have found that you have an ability to provide guidance, insight, encouragement, development to some very talented people. But you are seeing something that I and a lot of people would not see, would not be able to understand. You're predicting the future. What is it that you bring to the table?
First and foremost, the gift of discernment.
Okay.
Right? That's the first thing. The second thing is being humbled enough to understand that it ain't about me, it's about being a servant.
Right.
So that's the gift. That is the gift. You know, again, understanding that I'm here to serve. And we all servants. And so people always ask, I don't know if you watched the TV show Martin, the running joke on there with Tommy was, what does Tommy do? Tommy don't have no job. Right. So people see me all the time. They say, I see you doing this, and I see you I'm sure you may have said that. I see you here, and I see you there. What do you do?
I said that this morning.
Right.
I'm like,
what is it that you do?
Yes.
What is it that you do?
You do a little bit of this, a little bit of that, but without you, it doesn't happen.
Well, again, I'm saying what you was talking about your children, right?
Yes.
So, you know, when you go to school, the teachers ask, what do your parents do? So it had been a question, like on many people's mouths for years, like, what does Charlie Mack do? And it came all the way full circle to my 8-year-old daughter. So she came home one day. She said, Daddy, what do you do? And I'm cracking up. I'm laughing. She said, why are you laughing? She said, my teacher want to know what you do. So the reason why I laughed because I was startled because I couldn't believe it came to her. And she asked me, and I was like, wow, I don't know. But as I always do, because I say I'm dumb, deaf, and blind, but the Creator gives me clarity, right? So as I do, I have a very intimate relationship with God. I'm spiritual. I'm not as much religious, but I'm spiritual. I go to bed at night, and He reveals it to me, and He says, plain and simple, you're a servant.
Okay.
So that encompasses everything.
Right.
So to say I'm a manager or a producer or this and that's too small.
Yeah, let me tell you a story that kind of was an epiphany for me. I was in Korea visiting, and this is when the StarTech phones came out. They used to have the big brick phones.
Yep.
The first time they came out with a StarTech, it looked like Star Trek. It was a little black phone. You flipped it open, little antenna came out, and it was $800. And I went to Korea. I was on a trip, and I saw this little cart full of like candy, these little tiny things, and they were phones, and they were purple and violet, and they had a little like window on it, and I was like, what was that? What's that? And they said, it's a camera. And I said, oh, wow, that's really stupid. Who would put a camera on a phone?
Who would do that?
And then I saw a StarTech, and I'm like, wow, how much is that? And the guy said to me, that piece of junk. And I said, uh-oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. Like, obviously, there's a greater level of technology. And so I said, listen, I'm not really good at this. And so when you tell me that, nonetheless, Charlie Mack, I think you're the guy who said, hey, you know, we should put a camera and a video thing on the phone.
Absolutely.
And I would have been like, that's stupid. I got my camera in my pocket.
Absolutely.
So what is it that you see when you see a singer?
A light. It's a light.
Okay.
It's a light. It definitely is a light. You can go into a room, and again, like the teacher, right? You can go in there, and you'll have 30 kids, and you're like, okay, Rodney, something special about Rodney. Something special. And the thing about it is he has to focus, but it's something different than all of it. Because the thing about it, we all blessed, and we all get a gift. But Rodney, there's something special about Rodney. And you just want him to, and what happens is it becomes distractions. You know, especially when you're gifted because of the difference of being blessed and gifted. And then you got that kid that's gifted. And you're like, I just want them to keep straight on the narrow path. And what happens is essentially, Miss Grace essentially would be the person that actually pulls somebody because Miss Rocchio was mine, my 6th grade teacher. I don't remember none of my teachers except for Miss Rocchio. And Miss Rocchio, she definitely did it for me. In 6th grade, 1976, I was in the 6th grade. And Miss Rocchio today still actually put that stain on me that actually moved me because she was unwavered. She was and she cared about me. A lot of times I'm saying what happens is that you don't have time to get up to speed to deal with every child in the way of an intimate way. And I think it's there for everybody, but you got to get it. You got to be willing to come. Like, again, watch this. This is a great parallel. It came up this last week. And this is what we avoid in the terms of you have 4 children. When you have your kid first start walking, you open up your arms, you say, come on, come on, come on. Now, if you go over to them and pick them up, they may never walk. You got to see them walk to you.
Yes.
But what we do is we abandon that throughout life. That's the process. If you do that from a kid, you say mommy, say daddy. Like, come on, come on. He's like, hey, you celebrate him. But the thing about it is what we do is we coddle them and we don't let them walk. We got to let our children walk. And the thing about it is for the mother and father, you can't love them to a fault. You have to love them, but you can't love them to a fault. You got to be able to let them walk.
Right.
And we do that a lot in life. We don't let our kids walk.
Now, would you say that your significant opportunity came when you got involved with DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, or was it before?
It was prior to that. Because again, your gift is your gift from birth.
Okay.
You know, I had already been, like, for me, people don't know ultimately what it is for me, and just you a community servant. That's really what it's about for me. I unapologetically use the entertainment world to give back to my community.
Right.
I really do.
Yes,
like, I would not do any of the entertainment if I couldn't come back and give them seeds back here at home.
Yeah, let me just tell our listeners, in 1990, Charlie Mack started the Charlie Mack Celebrity Basketball Game. And, then he created in 2004 the Charlie Mack Party for Peace Celebrity Weekend, which, I've heard about many times, never actually went. I couldn't have gotten in the door, but, I knew all about it.
Everybody opened the door for David O. Period.
And so now you have come up with yet another thing. You are the founder and chairman of Charlie Mack Cares Foundation.
Correct.
And what are you hoping to achieve with that?
Physical fitness, education, and arts for kids 13 through 19. When we were children, we always had a place to go. We always had an outlet. Everybody's not going to be Will Smith. Everybody's going to be Jay-Z. Everybody's not going to be, Justin Timberlake. There's hundreds of jobs that go associate with that. They say it takes a village. And there are many jobs that are out there, educators, councilmen, that we overlook. I'm saying that probably the most important job in a kid's life is a teacher. Wow. She's probably the most important. A teacher, right? Because again, and the first teachers are you and your wife.
Yes.
So a teacher is the most important person in a kid's life. And again, what happens is we look up to these celebrities, and the celebrities are just there for 5 minutes or for 3 minutes, but you're there with them all their lives. And what happens is you take for granted the thing that's the very thing that's in front of you. We have to put more emphasis on the internal. And when we were kids, all of us, the parenting and the homes were our teaching boards, was our springboards. And now we put that on people that don't care about our kids and don't know our children. Rappers and singers and actors to raise our children. Although the TV and radio is a powerful tool, it's not the thing that should be actually raising our children. So.
Now, how did you get so closely associated, a friend, business partner of Will Smith?
Me and Jeff went to Bartram together. Me and Jazzy Jeff. Okay. Jeff actually hired me. But me and Will's personality kind of clicked more than Jeff. Jeff was more of an introvert. I'm extrovert. And Will's extrovert. So we connected on that level.
Okay. So
I was very outgoing. Again, I'm the one who took him to Los Angeles and in turn got him the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Because I'm very much so the outgoing person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Jeff stayed in Philly. He's Philly all day long. I'm Philly all day long. But again, I understand. That's what my company is called 215 Affiliated. Right. I'm from the 215, but I'm affiliated with the world.
Right.
Yes.
And you're known as a guy who can really connect people and that.
None of my doing though. The Creator actually gives me the tools. None of my doing. I don't take credit for none of it.
Okay, fantastic.
I'm a humble servant. That's it.
So part of your diverse background includes the fact that you've been a consultant to WBC champion Meldrick Taylor. You were manager for producer Justin Timberlake.
Timberland.
Timberland. Sorry.
Timberland.
I'm getting old with these eyes.
No.
Plus, I don't really follow entertainment. I love it, though, for the economy and what it does for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you were assigned as a consultant to Lil' Kim. And so, again, now you're taking Will Smith out to L.A. He's getting signed. You're doing more things. How do you find yourself in the middle of all this? Is it just almost like circumstance? No,
it's never circumstance. Nothing happens. Like, I don't believe in luck. I believe opportunity meets preparation.
Okay.
Right? So you got to prepare. You got to see yourself. You got to see yourself in the winning circle. You got to see yourself that you belong there. You got to see that yourself, you belong. You should have a parking spot in the front of the door. I believe that. So I project that.
Okay.
When I go somewhere, my brother right here, my little brother Wiz right here, he'll tell you he writes songs on Empire. And again, anything that you can conceive, you can achieve. Most people can't think it.
Right.
You got to see yourself in the winning circle. Like, if you don't believe, Barack knew from the point that he said it, that he knew he was going to be the president. Nobody else believed it, but he knew it. Not that he believed it, he knew it.
Right.
So you project that energy, and so you understand everything is energy in the universe. And if you believe it, you project that out there. You're doing things unconventional.
I do a little something here.
No, you don't know something. We don't want to negate anything. You do a lot of something.
Yeah.
Because guess what? I'm aware of who you are, and I only really care about the people that do the work with the lights off.
Yes.
You do the work with the lights off. Everybody can perform with the lights on, but it's when the lights are off.
Well, thank you for that. I will share this. I do believe myself that we have to act with faith.
Absolutely.
And if we don't act with faith, God won't work his miracles.
This is true.
So it's not me, as you just said.
This is true.
But there is something for me to do.
Absolutely.
And I have to step up positively with the belief that the little thing that I do will then possibly open the door for big things to happen.
This is true. This is true.
And so I think we share that.
We do.
That perspective.
I think that's why the energy kind of, again, drew us to each other.
Yes.
And it was very natural. It wasn't forced. Like, because again, you'll have people that introduce you, but I know for me, I'm saying I'm more of an energy person. I mean, again, my mother can introduce me to you. If I don't feel you, I don't feel you.
Right.
That's just what it is. It has to be sincere.
Yes.
Now
tell us, because really my listeners want to know, and they're saying, like, come on, David O, get something out of him.
Some tough questions.
No, not tough questions, but people really want to know because you're talking a lot of philosophy and it's all true. But for example, with Boys to Men, tell us about Boys. How did you find Boys to Men?
Well, me and Nate from Boys to Men, the founding member of Boys to Men, we grew up on 57th and Woodland Avenue together. I've known him since he was 3 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. I've known Kobe Bryant since he was 6 years old. So I've been in this business, in the entertainment business, since 1978.
Wow, that's a long time.
14 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
My uncle started a label called April Records.
Right.
And I didn't know at the time that's what it was called. It's called Street Team. And I didn't know that's what it was called. I just was going around to clubs and I've been this height since I was 15 years old.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's 6'7".
Yes, I've been this height since I was 15. So I would go around and pass out his singles, go to clubs, pass out flyers, things like that. So that's a street team. That's what they call it today. At 14, I was just out there helping my uncle promote his record. That's what we called it then. So I got bit by that bug. I did my first house party when I was 15. I had 250 kids in my mom's basement. And from that moment on, I was like, I love this. And today, I still feel the same. But I said, when you're doing something that you love to do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Right.
So I never worked yet. I serve.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow. So, I'm kind of looking at my computer here, what happened to my screen. But anyway, my folks will make sure that I'm keeping time properly. We probably have to go to a commercial break right now, and we'll be right back. Listen, everybody, you're listening to Mr. Philadelphia, Mr. Entertainment.
The Big Brother Philadelphia.
Yes, Charlie Mack Alston, Big Brother Philadelphia. So stay
City
tuned. We'll be right back.
Bam.
And we are back. Today, we have been talking to Leslie Grace. Yeah, she's a public school teacher, but she is passionate, committed. She is an award-winning school teacher, outstanding elementary art educator of the year, an organizer and advocate, and she teaches at Nebinger. And so we have been so blessed to have her with us, and also teaching our kids here in Philadelphia. And right now, I'm going to get back to talking with Mr. Philadelphia, Big Brother. Charlie Mack Alston, he is CEO of a multi-faceted entertainment company, 215 affiliated, and I could shout out names all day long of people that you would ooh and ah over, because he has been that person who has been in the middle of it all. And so let me go into this, because you actually are the manager for Yaz.
Brashear
Yaz Gray.
Mm-hmm. Empire.
Yes.
Plays Hakeem.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And so how did that happen, and what are you doing with him right now?
How it happened, I met his mother some 20 years ago, I would say. 20 years ago. And again, if you ever watch a TV show, and I always relate to TV shows or basketball in life, but if you watch the television show called In Living Color.
Yes.
Right? There was a character that Kim Wayans played called it was Lil Magic.
Right.
And it was her child that had a very, very minimal talent, but she would put her in all the talent shows. Look, go ahead, Lil Magic. Go ahead, Lil Magic. So that's what I've been dealing with over the years, because, again, I'm the conduit in a lot of ways, too, from the inner city to the entertainment.
Right.
So people come to me all the time. Like you would say, Charlie, I got a son, he can rap. And Miss Gray said, I got a niece that can sing.
Right.
So, and then probably out of the hundreds, it might be one or two that really have it.
Right.
So I try not to disrespect anybody, but I was like, okay, I'll get with you. So another friend of mine invited me to see her daughter at the TLA. I go to the TLA, Asia Sparks, her mother Sandy invites me down, and I'm sitting up in the balcony, and this kid rolls out on this bicycle, and he's dancing and everything, and it just kind of blew me away. I was like, this dude is like something different. I'm looking, I'm like, that's Yaz. I'm like, that's who Andrew had been telling me about. So I'm checking him out. I'm like, yeah, he got something. Remember I told you about that light?
The light, yeah.
Like Yaz clearly was an alien in Philadelphia. Really, he walked around with security. He had his glasses on, and of course, again, me and Wiz, we started out with him day one. He just had that thing. He was just he was like a circle trying to fit in a square. He just wasn't home. He wasn't at home.
Right.
Being on stage, Michael Jackson is at home being on stage.
Right.
Being on a set, being on stage, Yaz is at home. And so for me, I felt like I had the resources, and I do have the resources to support, to help, and to lend my hand to a lot of these young, talented folks. And I particularly like young people. You know what I mean? I do. You know what I mean? I just try to be that bridge that gives them a platform. That's what I do.
Another platform that you've launched is Philavision Films with Jamal Hill.
Jamal Hill, yes. Very talented director from Philadelphia.
Yeah, and you were working with him before that.
What happened was I had known of Jamal, and Jamal was doing a lot of people, they have aspirations of doing things. I never would tell nobody you shouldn't do it, or, you can do it. I support them where they are, right? If I believe in them. I have to see it, though.
Right.
I got to see it. I got to see the light in the tunnel. And Jamal I just watched him over about 10 years. I said, keep coming. Again, the analogy of keep coming. And he kept coming. He had some bumps in the road, but he was steady. So a friend of mine hit me up and said, Charlie, I want you to meet this guy named Jamal Hill. I said, I already know him. I know about him. I know him. So I said, I'm just waiting for him to keep coming. He just want him to develop a little bit more. Then he had put out a film called Money, Power, Respect. And when I looked at the film, I was like, it's cool, but you're just not on the exact street.
Right.
So I said, what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to have you. I call him the LeBron James of the film game, because he went from being on the streets of Philadelphia to working on Iron Man, I Am Legend,
right,
and he did Iron Man, I Am Legend, and he did another film, but he did over $500 million. We worked on $500 million worth of films, in a year and a half.
Right.
In a year and a half, he worked on 2 Wills films, and he did Iron Man.
Right. Wow.
So I Am Legend, Hancock, and Iron Man. So he worked on those films over a year and a half. And I felt like being in that atmosphere. And the guy that wrote Beautiful Mind, Akiva Goldsman,
right,
sent him to a writing school.
Okay.
And he went on to be a PA. A PA essentially production assistant.
Right.
But I wanted to put him in. I didn't want to put him in somewhere where he's going to actually have a job. I wanted him to be able to stand next to the director. So I put him with Will, and he was able to have access to world class producers, writers, directors, and all he had to do was get coffee. So that's not a heavy lifting job.
Right.
But what it was the access. He got a chance to be on these films. There's $150 million budgets and see how it's really done.
Right.
And so I said, when he gets done that, I want to see what he actually does.
Right.
And so he went and did that. He did the 3 films over about a year and a half, 2 years. Came back to Philadelphia. His first film, I said, "You're going to do my film." And so we did a film called Streets starring Meek Mill. I used that platform to kind of like strategically market, Meek's music.
Right.
Much like Prince did with Purple Rain.
Right.
Used that film platform to promote, his music. And that's what I did with Streets.
Right.
And Streets essentially was more of a demo, if you will, pilot, if you will, Philadelphia's version of The Wire.
Right.
But I just said, what I do? I just put it out as a film and go ahead and it's actually a platform for Meek as well. And it worked out.
Okay.
It worked out. And so we did another film called Brotherly Love, starring Keke Palmer, Corey Hardrick, and Quincy, Puffy's son. And then we just did another film called Deuces with Megan Good, Lorenz Tate, Lance Gross, all that are housed right now on Netflix.
Okay.
So you can see all of them. Streets, Deuces, Brotherly Love.
Right. On Netflix, and more coming.
Well, we just completed, we have Starstruck and we have BFF. BFF essentially is Girlfriends Meets Sex in the City, set in Atlanta. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I got about 3 minutes
Hey,
left,
get it.
and I got this important question.
Yes.
What is the future in Philadelphia? What is your vision? What can we do for Philadelphia to grow our entertainment capabilities?
Well, in particular, in terms of film, Will did part of After Earth here. That budget was $150 million.
Right.
And we have to get the tax incentive adjusted.
Yes.
Because, again, that's why they're in Atlanta. That's why they go to Toronto. That's why they go to New Orleans, because the tax incentives are better, are greater. And we don't have any staff here. We got to get people here. But, again, the money shifting as far as the tax incentive, that'll inspire people. Because understand this, Philadelphia has a star in his own right. Everything else is a co-star. All my stories, I'm pro-Philadelphia. So I absolutely want to make films here in Philly by Philadelphians and employ Philadelphia natives. That's what I want to do. Ultimately.
All right. Well,
so
listen,
tax incentive. And you can do that.
I definitely am. We did a resolution, and we are pushing to uncap that film tax credit here in Pennsylvania. So important for us as a economy, as a city in particular. And so, to the listeners, the film industry is critically important for our city, and we have to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Well, listen.
You can do it, Dave-O.
I'm gonna do my best.
I know you can do it. If you can conceive, you can achieve.
Oh, my goodness. Well, listen, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Grace, pleasure is all mine.
Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure.
All right. So listen, we have had a great show, and the reason I say that is because if anyone's missed a show, you can go to YouTube, YouTube.com. Just type in the Know with David O and look at past shows, or come to www.wwdbam.com and you can look at past shows. You can listen to this show probably this evening. It'll be on, and certainly if you listen again and again, you will get a deeper level of understanding of exactly what that magic is, what it takes, and so please do. We've had some great guests, and we will continue to have great guests sharing their knowledge, their expertise with you. Let me just say that August 17th is First Responder Day in Philadelphia. It's the Philadelphia First Responder Appreciation Day. And what we ask everyone to do is, listen, if you have a local police station or fire station, EMTs in and around your neighborhood, say thank you. You might be shy, but listen, walk by, stop in, say thank you. You will be amazed. Charlie Mack says thank you. Listen, he says it a few times. Listen, you will be amazed what thank you does to people who are putting it on the line, living in stress. Just thank you means so much more. Well, listen, join us next week for In the Know with David O.
You've been listening to In the Know with David O. on 860 AM WWDB. Tune in again next Tuesday at 2 p.m. for more informative, substantive, intelligent talk radio with Philadelphia Councilman David O.